coming to you oddly professionally dressed today because I am at another trade show. My last vlog, I was in New York at the IHS trade show, and this week I am on the other side of the country in Anaheim, California for National Products Expo West. And it is beautiful and sunny behind me, so I'm going to take advantage of this lighting, but I am not here to talk to you about the trade show. Today is March 4th, which, yes, is National Pancake Day and Mardi Gras, but it is also the 1-year anniversary of my nose job. I thought it would be kind of fun to do a little year follow-up now that it is mostly healed. They aren't kidding when they say it can take upwards from 12 months, 14 months for it to fully settle into what it's supposed to look like. But I thought it would be fun to do kind of a recap. I did do a 6-month post-op video, and I will link that down below. There's some information there. There was some information in the original rhinoplasty video, and I'm just gonna put it all together here in one spot for you so that if you didn't watch the older videos, of course I would love you to go back and watch them, but just to have it all in one video. I'm not gonna lie, there is a lot of preparation that goes into having a rhinoplasty. I would imagine having any surgery, especially something that is going to alter your face. I finally made the decision to look for a plastic surgeon and get serious about going to a consultation only once I was financially able to do it. I think a lot of people get very excited about going to get a rhinoplasty consultation because it's finally happening and they're not financially able to yet. And at that time, you kind of put yourself in a little bit of trouble because you might lose out on a deposit that doctors make you put down if they give you a consultation. For example, mine was, I believe, $250 for the consultation, but then it went towards the surgery. So you do want to be careful that once you start seeking out doctors, you might have to pay some of these kind of down payments. So I would recommend being fully financially able to once you start going for the visits. What prompted me to get serious about it, though, was that I got married last year. And I knew it was something in the back of my mind that I had wanted for a very long time. And I know that wedding photos, it seems very vain, but if you think about wedding photos, they are such a timeless, in every photo album, you always just look back on them and want to cherish them. And I have so many photos and trips and all kinds of memories that I look back on and cringe because of my nose. It sounds horrible, I'm just being honest. I really did not want to have that same sort of ick looking back on my wedding photos. And then I knew that there were other things coming up as well, different events that we were gonna have to go to. With my work being in sales and my husband's work being sort of in the Broadway music circuit, it was really important to me that I was able to look back on these memories fondly. And the nose has been such a hiccup and such a Achilles heel for me for so many years. I finally had the financial means to do it, as I mentioned, very important. I finally had the partner, because if you're trying to take care of yourself through recovery from the surgery, it's not going to happen. You're going to want a friend or a parent or a partner, such as in my situation. And he was on track with me. I kept him informed after my visits, and he was like, I'll be there for you, I'll help you, and that was absolutely key. I will also mention that work is something to take into consideration. Obviously, you're gonna want a few days off of work, if not a week or more. And I'm very fortunate that I work remotely as I'm in sales. So it was easy for me to take off a set period of time. And then the last 2 days of that week, my surgery was on a Monday. I took Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off. And then Thursday and Friday, I had not set any meetings or anything because I knew I would still have my cast on. I would still have my stents in, and I didn't want to be on camera. So it was very easy for me to have it done, have the time blocked off that I needed to, and then be able to go back to work once I was weaning off of pain pills and things like that. Something to consider: what time do you have off? Are you able to take PTO? These are all things that you need to have planned out before you dive in fully for a rhinoplasty. Considering the timeline that I had to work with, because when I finally decided to bite the bullet, I think it was in November or maybe December of 2023. It was something that I'd been working on, considering, putting all these things together, and I wasn't able to get in to see him until January 17th, I believe, of last year. And I could not stress enough in all of my meetings with him how important it was that we get this booked as quickly as possible, because once he started talking about recovery time and swelling, I was a little nervous because I knew October, well, yes, it was like 10 months down the road. It was only 10 months down the road. So it was important to get these appointments booked as soon as possible. Unfortunately, they had a cancellation. So I went in for my initial consultation January 17th. I went in for my pre-op appointment on February 15th, 16th. It was around Valentine's Day. And then my surgery was March 4th. The first meeting was primarily just to get to know me, see what I wanted to do, talk about the aesthetic that I was looking for. He did talk about the golden rule, which I know I mentioned in my follow-up video, I believe, my 6-month. The golden rule of your face is that there are certain ratios in your face, and you can't just, he is not the kind of plastic surgeon that would look at a picture, and if I brought him a portfolio of photos that I'm like, I want this nose, he wouldn't do that. He wanted to be very careful about respecting the natural ratios in your face. For example, I have kind of a longer face, and it's a little bit thicker in the cheeks, and so he wasn't going to give me a little teeny tiny nose because that would look awful. So he was really good about, I'm going to make it look as natural as possible. It's going to look great. You're going to love it, but I can't do that. I don't want to do that. I refuse to do that, essentially. And I was really happy with that, how he talked me through what he would do, what it would look like, what I could expect. And then after we had the full understanding of what was going to be happening, I went and met with the financial officer, and she was wonderful. She broke everything down very clearly. There were 3 different costs. It was surgeon's fee, facility fee, anesthesiologist fee. And I had to pay a certain amount during that January visit, between the January visit and the February visit. I had to pay the remainder of it the February visit. And then when we went on March 4th, everything was already paid for. It was all taken care of. No, insurance does not help with the nose job. If you have to have a septoplasty because of breathing issues or sinus issues, that's where there might be some gray area. They might. I had that done in 2021, and insurance did not cover all of it. It was still a very expensive surgery. It was not aesthetic at all, but insurance was able to cover some of it because I was having difficulty breathing, lots of bloody noses, allergies, things like that, that had nothing to do with the rhinoplasty. Full disclosure, everything said and done for me was around $11,000. It was not cheap, not to mention the equipment that you might need to go along with it. Things like the wedge pillow, the different supplements, the additional whatever you might need to support you through it. And I did kind of a little mini haul going into my nose job. So that very first video, you'll see some of the things that I bought to prepare. So it's not a cheap surgery. And if you find somewhere that does it a lot cheaper, I'm just saying it is your face and you will probably get what you pay for. Leading up to the surgery, there was some prep work that needed to be done. 3 days before, I just stopped drinking alcohol. It was explained to me as the way it interacts with the medication and the anesthesia could cause some organ damage and things like that if you did drink leading up to the surgery. I also had to stop eating, I believe at like midday the day before, and then the morning of, he said you have to drink a full Gatorade Zero, not the red one. And that was explained to me as being for nausea and hydration after the surgery. So I did that. I got the Arctic something. It's like the milky white Gatorade Zero is what I ended up drinking. And I think it worked really well. They had also given me a little nausea patch, which I'll mention in a minute, but I didn't really have any nausea and issues post-op coming out of anesthesia, which I was very thankful for. The day of the surgery was one I will never forget because I had my alarm set for 4 o'clock. We had a 7 o'clock surgery time, which meant we had to get to the hospital at 5 a.m. and we were going to wake up at 4, hop in the car and go, like immediately. Obviously I couldn't have breakfast, and my fiance just wanted to get me there. He wasn't going to work that day, so we didn't really need to like get up, get ready. It was just get up and go. I woke up at 2:30 in the morning and I could not fall back asleep. I was like a little kid on Christmas morning, but I was also really nervous, and it was just like the day is here. And so I had a horrible time falling asleep the night before, and then the morning of, there was no way I was gonna make it to the 4 o'clock alarm. We got there, we almost missed it actually because there was some massive traffic jam on the way to the hospital, and I was like, this is how it goes in my life. This is my luck, that we have a 5 a.m. time to be at the hospital and we're not gonna get there and I'm gonna miss it, and then I'm gonna have to reschedule it and I'm not gonna get any of my money back, etc. That did not happen. Fortunately, he knew a back way to get there. Anyway, we get there, intake forms, Eventually they take me back and I change into the hospital garb, get my compression socks on. They gave me some pills to relax. I don't remember exactly what they were. And then a whole slew of the team came in to introduce themselves to me and meet my husband. See, now this is hard because I'm interchanging husband and fiance. At the time, he was my fiance. He is now my husband. So whichever word I use, just that's who it is. Same guy. The whole team came in, one at a time. The anesthesiologist came in, the nurse came in, the plastic surgeon came in, and I was glad he had not yet met my then fiance. So he was able to talk to him, reassure him that I'm not going to do anything crazy to her face. And then they gave me the pills, and then they put this nausea patch on my neck. And I still don't know exactly how that worked, but they gave me a whole form that I had to fill out for it. And like I said, I did not have any nausea post-op. So that was beneficial. Maybe I didn't need it. I don't know. But then a woman came in and was trying to put the IV in my arm. And she started by trying to put it in my hand. And that was one of the most painful things, aside from my jaw. Waking up after surgery is like my hand was throbbing because she tried to get it in and missed. And then it like swelled up. So eventually they put it in my arm. And then after that, everything is kind of a blur because they mentioned, we'll get a cocktail hour going for you here shortly. You're going to feel really good. It'll be fine. You know, they had these weighted things like under the blanket that they put on my legs to help with blood flow or something during surgery. And then finally the time came that I had to hug Sandy goodbye, and they wheeled me back. I don't really remember that. I remember some vagueness of like blue, I think they must have had blue hairnets or something on, a lot of light. And then when they put the oxygen mask on my face, or the sleeping gas, whatever it's called, it tasted really icky. They had forewarned me that they give kids bubblegum flavor and they give the adults the beach ball flavor. And that's the last thing I remember before waking up in the same room that they had prepped me in. And I just heard my fiance saying, "You need to drink your juice. You need to drink your juice. Come on, Samantha, drink your juice." And they were trying to get me to drink ginger ale because I guess when I first woke up, my heart rate was so low that they were afraid that I was going to get up and like pass out. So once they got my blood sugar up a little bit and my heart rate increased and I was okay, they got me into a wheelchair. My husband, bless him, he had to dress me. And I was no help because I'm still super groggy off anesthesia. And he's trying to like hold me up with one arm and pull my underwear up with the other. I wish I could see that because it would be really comical. Because I just remember just like limp noodle on top of him trying to figure it out myself. And then got me into a wheelchair, and this man wheeled me out to, my husband pulled the car around. It was like, I can't see anyone because they see me and I know I look awful, and it just like closing my eyes thinking, you can't see them, they can't see you, even though they could absolutely see me. Got into the elevator, went down, wheeled me out to my husband, and I don't really remember anything much after that until we got home and I woke up in bed. The first 2 days were pretty rough. I'm not gonna lie. I had my wedge pillow and I was propped up, but of course you can't really sleep sitting up. It just doesn't go very well. So you're trying to sleep sitting up, and then the one morning I woke up and I was completely like face planted into the wedge pillow. It was very painful. So I ended up using an airline pillow with my wedge pillow then to sleep, but I was in and out. I mean, I'd sleep for 2 hours, wake up, and just a throbbing pain in my jaw from the breathing tube. I had the pain in my hand, like throbbing. My husband brought me flowers at one point. I had him get some frozen like mango and pineapple and things like that. Pineapple, by the way, very important to help reduce facial swelling and kind of keep the puffiness down. They also gave me these little bromelain tablets that really helped, and that's the same chemical in pineapple, fun fact, that helps reduce swelling after like facial surgery, facial trauma. And so kept that coming. I had the Halls like suck on candies because again, that was such a bad pain, but I did have plenty of painkillers. I had to have them filled a few days ahead of time, obviously. And then my fiance kind of kept an eye on the whole medicine situation and knew when I could have Tylenol, when I could have the prescription stuff. And not to mention, you're not sleeping, but you also can't shower, which you are so out of it. It doesn't matter. Like I thought I'd be going stir crazy, not being able to go for a walk or go to the gym or anything like that. You do not care at all. You're just, I watched the full 3 seasons of Only Murders in the Building. The first week of recovery from my rhinoplasty. You're not showering. I don't think I showered until 4 days post-op. And afterwards, I felt like a new woman. It felt so good. It was like all the gross ickiness off my face, because the night before your surgery, you can't shower with all your products. You have to get antibacterial soap, do your whole body. Morning of, you can wear no deodorant, you can wear no perfume, nothing. So that first shower after your rhinoplasty feels amazing. The only other thing that took a lot of time to sort of get back to normal was food, because you can't have hot food, you can't have crunchy food. Your mouth isn't really working very well, not to mention the pain in your jaw. So I had a lot of frozen fruit. I had a lot of just eggs and quinoa that I would make and then let cool until I could eat them comfortably at room temperature. I think the very first thing I made was like a chocolate smoothie bowl, and I was so hungry, and I go to eat it and I take one bite and I couldn't eat it. Anesthesia does weird things to your digestion. Now, 1 week after surgery, you go back to get some of your stitches out, because if they leave them in too long, they get grown in. So I went in, it was not great. It really hurt. And I was really disappointed, because I thought when I went back after week 1, I was gonna get my stents out and get my cast off. And as it turns out, that would happen a week after. Week 1, I got my stitches out, and then a week later, which I think in the vlog, I didn't vlog much at all the second week, because it was just more of the same. It was more of a really difficult time showering and not really being able to eat what I want. And then I had a flat tire at one point, with my cast on. And I remember thinking, the tow truck driver probably thinks I'm a battered woman, and it's just a nose job. That was a horrible, horrible episode. But the second week after the surgery, I did get to go back, and I had my stents out, which is a godsend, because the stents were probably the most uncomfortable part once the jaw pain went away. I did not realize how uncomfortable and the pressure that they could cause. And it makes sense, because they're literally jammed up your nasal cavity, and they're not small. They are the size of a barrette, like a hair barrette. I'm looking around as if I have one, but I don't. What do I have that could be the size of a stent? From my finger to the point is about how big the stents were. And they were up each nostril. So I weaned myself off the really heavy-duty painkillers, but I stayed on Tylenol for a few days after that, because it was just such intense pressure. And then I had the cast on as well, which you wouldn't think it could get so gross, because it's on top of your nose. But when you're not showering right, and you can't wear makeup, and your skin just does something weird after surgery, and it gets all clammy and gross, my husband was like, I'm ready for that cast to come off, because I love you, but it's getting smelly, and it's getting gross, and it just needs to come off. So the day that the stents came out and the cast came off, it was like the windows opened and the birds started singing again. It was amazing. I look back on that clip after I got my stents out and the cast off and everything, and I remember when I first got it done, looking back at that clip thinking, it doesn't look that swollen. My nose did not look that massively bad in those first few videos. But now, a year later, looking at pictures and things, there has been a lot of swelling that has come down. And I will say there is still a teeny tiny bit on the one side, it almost looks like it curves to one side, but it's just still a little bit swollen, and it just needs a little more time. I had one follow-up after all of that came out. I had a follow-up 3 months after that, and then I had another 3 months after that, and I just had my final visit to the surgeon's office on February 18th. And it is now March 4th, and at the end of that appointment, he shook my hand. He said, Samantha, that will not take very long to go away, but if you need anything else, you know where to find me. He shook my hand, and that was it. It was very hands-off after the initial surgery and the stents out and everything. It was just a few follow-up appointments, and that was it. Overall, I could not be happier with my decision to get a rhinoplasty, to have worked with the plastic surgeon that I worked with. It was Dr. J.J. Wendell out of Green Hills in Nashville. He and his team were fantastic the entire way through, the prep leading up to it, the day of the surgery, the follow-ups. It was everything that I could have hoped a rhinoplasty would be. I'm really thankful that I was able to do it, that I had the financial means, the work style, the partner. Everything came together exactly how I had been hoping that it would, and I have no regrets. Honestly, I just can't believe it's been a year already since this happened. It's been an amazing transformation. I look back on photos now and I love them. The photos from our wedding, and I will insert a few here just because I have to. I'm thrilled with how they turned out. I think from the profile, from straight on, I think my nose looks exactly how I was hoping that it would. And I just think that if it's something you're considering, obviously a lot goes into it. Obviously it's very expensive, but if you can, and it's something that will really bring you a renewed sense of happiness and confidence in yourself, I think you should absolutely go for it. If you have any questions though, because this is the year anniversary of the rhinoplasty, if you have any questions, please drop them down in the comments below. I'm not sure how many more videos I can do about a rhinoplasty because I've now done it and 6 months and a year, so there's really not much else to say. But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to do a Q&A at some point. Just drop them in the comments below. And if you are watching this as a way to prep for your own rhinoplasty, I wish you the best of luck and congratulations. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, like, and subscribe, and I will see you next week.